Hi everyone, today I just want to talk about what it's like being alcohol free when you get past those tough few weeks and few months and you end up sitting there and maybe looking at your tracker and realizing that you're a year down the line now and maybe even a couple of years down the line, and to be honest, by that time you're probably not even tracking your time, and it's just an amazing place to be. And I think once you're kind of in that quagmire in the beginning and your emotions are all over the place and you don't know where your path that you're on is going to lead, it's just a really tough time, and you don't see what's ahead of you. You don't even really think about where this is going. You've never been there before. It's all new to you. You've maybe boozed for the last, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and you've just never been in this place before. And a lot of people might not have somebody that they can sit down with and kind of fully understand what they're going through. And it's not until you do it yourself that you realize kind of how tough it is in the beginning and where this ends up. It's just an incredible journey, and I can really understand a lot of people's pain in the comments, because like I say, nobody's been on this journey before, and you don't really know how you're going to feel, how it's going to end up. Especially, you got the friends situation as well, and you might have holidays booked up, and you don't really know what you're going to do in the future with, is everyone going to fall out with me, and how's my partner going to react? And it's just a really tough time. But I just wanted to make this quick video to just tell people that it's great, and the path that you're on leads to better things. It's just a completely different way of life once your brain's rewired and you've got through that initial kind of stage, the tough few months and the tough 6 months. It's just an incredible life to live. And the first time I quit was 2017, and I quit for 5 years, and then stupidly thought I could moderate and ended up just getting back into bad habits. And before you know it, you're back in that routine, the dreaded routine of, for me it was binge drinking at the weekends and just funerals, weddings, any excuse to kind of go out. And just like millions of other people, like I just always classed myself as a quintessential British binge drinker, and fell back into that trap. But luckily, after many attempts, in July of 2025, I ended up getting off the booze. And it's just a remarkable thing once you've kind of closed that chapter, I guess. The boozing for me is just kind of like a hobby I used to do, and I don't really do it anymore. Just a chapter in my life I've closed, and it's amazing. You just end up completely switching onto new things and having new hobbies and new interests, and you discover just things that you enjoy and you enjoy doing. And I can understand in the beginning it's just hard to see, hard to look into the future and imagine yourself as that person, maybe going out cycling or going to a sporting event sober. But it's just, once you get past that initial stage and your brain and your body's rewired, it's just a completely different way of life. And for myself, I just love like deep diving into things that I enjoy doing. It's just things, again, that especially pre-2017 I didn't think I would ever do, when I was one of those guys that everything was boring, and what to do that, oh, it's boring, just because there wasn't a bar there or a pub. But if it was like going bowling or playing pool or snooker when there was a bar there, it was obviously the greatest laugh ever. But if it's just like doing something that didn't revolve, if somebody had said you want to go to, I don't know, like an ice hockey game or something, or go to the rugby, but there's a ban on the booze, I'd be, oh, that's boring. And don't worry, the mind shift totally changes after a while, and you'll find yourself doing hobbies and interests and things like that. And my advice to people as well is, I honestly see so many comments talking about being bored and the boredom. And like I say, I've been there before, and I know exactly what it's like. But they're just, my advice to people is there must be something out there that you can do. There must be things out there that you enjoy doing, things you did when you were younger and you stopped doing, that you can pick up again. And even if they do cost money, remember that, you know, you're not spending that money on booze now. If you were going out Friday, Saturday night at the pub with your mates, you might be spending a couple of £100 these days. So you could do anything you want really at the weekend, even if it costs something. And it's just a complete difference in life when you're doing things at the weekend you really enjoy. And, you know, I started this YouTube channel, which would have never, ever happened before. To be honest, maybe one of the days I'd have been feeling all right, or I'd have done a couple of weekends off it and then got in that good mood again. The brain fog's maybe creeping away, and then it would have just got sidelined like everything else. Before you know it, it would have just been sidelined. And another good thing is that you notice after you've been off it for a long time is you just stop pleasing people. I think genuinely I was a people pleaser, and by that I'm not meaning, you know, it's a difficult one. You would just, I guess to sum it up, you would say that, you know, I always wanted to be liked from everyone. I didn't want that confrontation. You know, I'd always kind of say yes to all the work parties, and every time someone had something on, I felt the need to go, and I would always go even though I didn't want to. But you just learn to be selfish, and I think that's a good thing once you get older. And by selfish, you know, I'm just meaning looking after number one, yourself. And I always put myself first. If I don't want to go to something, I don't do it. And if somebody tries to buy me a drink, which is rare just now, I just put them down and put them in their place and just say, you know, it's not on. And I think you just grow thicker skin, and it's just a confidence thing. I think once you've been off it a while, and I'm talking maybe, you know, 6-12 months, you've got your affairs in order, you know, you maybe started saving money, and you maybe transferred your business around, or you've not pulled a sickie at work once in the whole 6 months, and people are maybe coming to you now because you're starting to be reliable, and you're always there, you're always up early, and you always pick up the phone, and you just end up holding your chest out and you're holding your head high, and it's a great feeling to have. And I think that's just something that comes with time. And if you told me that 20 years ago, because I had quite a lot of friends that had said to me, you know, you're too nice to folk, you know, you always come out, you're always on time, you always do favours for people. And I'm not saying, of course, don't do any favours for anyone, and etc., but just need to look out for yourself pretty much. Another thing I noticed myself doing is I just jump into everything, and it's such a good feeling to have. I've talked so many times before about brain fog being one of the worst things that happen when you're boozing, and especially the second time I went off it, because I had that 5-year period where I knew I was capable of all this stuff. I knew I could get things done, I knew I could pass exams and start things that took a long length of time, and I would get them done. And when that brain fog goes and you just have a different mindset, it's just, you tend to jump into everything. And it's and it's not like a contradiction to what I just pointed out in the last kind of statement like a few minutes ago. It's just, I think, being proactive instead of reactive. If something needs done, you do it. If you've got time to get stuff done, you'll just do it. And it's not waiting until the third or fourth letter comes from your bank, or, from the tax man. You're thinking about all this stuff, you're on top of things, so you end up just picking up the phone and actually getting it done. And you can imagine how much stress that alleviates if you're just all these little things in your life, you're just ahead of them. You're not reactive, you're not waiting for things to happen, you're being proactive, you're seeing issues that might arise, and you're just dealing with them. It's just a brilliant thing, and that ultimately leads to just a lot less stress. And I think I was stressed kind of half the week, which is nuts when you think of it. You know, if you're out at the weekend, I'd be out the Friday night, say, maybe a party for one mostly, and then Saturday I'd be out mostly probably with friends. by that time you're needing maybe a hair of the dog in the afternoon. I wasn't like a morning drinker or anything like that. Never needed to wake up and, you know, down a beer, probably the last thing on my mind, to be honest. But if you're a binge drinker, you know what it's like. You get up, have breakfast, you're feeling rough, you maybe get a few things done, go uptown, etc., go to a cafe, and then you're kind of twiddling your thumbs and you think, oh, I better get one down me or I'm never making it tonight. And that just leads to a horrendous hangover on the Sunday, and that would maybe continue into the Monday and the Tuesday. And if it's summer, there might be barbecues going on and you have a couple there, you're just topping up, and it's just a dreadful situation to be in. I just look back and just think stress. And even that, the worst one was the stress that just hit you, the anxiety, beer fear, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, when that hit you first thing in the morning, without even thinking of nothing. You had to deal with that all the time, whereas now I wake up and there's just less stress, there's less drama, there's less financial concerns, you know, because I think regardless, everything's really relative, you know, but when you're on top of everything and, like I mentioned before, you're proactive and not reactive, it's just a different ball game. And a great thing that comes back as well is just these small joys you feel, and alcohol definitely just numbs you. It numbs you completely, I think, and you don't really feel much. And when you do feel much, it's, you know, regret and why did I do this, and you're beating yourself up, etc. But there's not a better feeling when all these little things just kind of give you joy, and you feel the wind on your face, you feel the sun on your face, and you enjoy your cup of tea in the morning, or you're meeting somebody for lunch, you've got a great appetite and you just enjoy it, and you enjoy being in the company of others. You know, when friends come round, you're thinking about catching up with them, you're not thinking about the pint you're going to have at the pub when you meet them, and it's just like I say, a completely different world. And getting those joys back, I think, can just change everything. It just elevates your mood completely and just makes everything absolutely wonderful. And by month 12, financial wise, you've hopefully got 12 paychecks and you've not been spending hardly anything compared to what you have. So you end up getting that financial freedom feeling where if you did get let go from your job, well, at least I've got a bit of a nest egg. And, you know, maybe you're thinking, well, I could pay off my car now and my phone loan if you got that on credit, and just waking up in the morning and not knowing that's your credit card paid off, or like say you might have 10 grand in the account now, and what a wonderful feeling it is. And it's just, unfortunately, you know, I watch a lot of YouTube, way too much to be honest, and you watch these people that, you know, live these alternative lifestyles, but which is great on them and all the best. I hope they're happy, but at the end of the day, there's still bills to pay. Like, you've still got bills. You know, in the US, you've got all your medical stuff, and you know, you've still got to heat where you live. You've still got to eat, etc. And if you want something, you need cash to buy it. And that's the sad truth. And to have that financial freedom and you're not really worrying about it all is incredible. And I think relationships as well, compared, especially in 2017, where the vast majority of my time I spent with pub mates, quote unquote mates, and it just is a different lifestyle, like a year later, and it's a funny one, and it definitely deserves its whole separate topic, whole separate video. I've kind of talked about it in the past, where all these so-called friends just kind of go, and it's a huge worry for people. Like, probably one of the biggest worries when they quit is what's going to happen. You know, I'm going on holiday with my mates, I've got a stag do coming up, I've got my mate's 30th or mate's 50th, and what am I meant to do? And it's a funny old one, because the first few months you end up trying, I think, to do the same things as you used to do. I still went to the pub and had non-alcohol beer on the Sunday when all my mates were there. They used to have Sunday sessions pretty much every weekend, but I just couldn't handle the Sunday sessions. Maybe if I was off the Monday, but yeah, you'd feel dreadful on the Monday. And I would still turn up and try and be one of the crew, and the folk would just be topping up from the night before, and you know, laughing at these jokes that they've already said 100 times, and it just became crap. Like, honestly, I remember going after a few months and thinking, this is rubbish. Like, just rubbish. I would rather be doing 100 things more, especially in it's summer. I remember it being summer or warm outside, and I remember just thinking, I don't want to be in here. So it's fine, you know, you have this mental switch in your brain, and to be honest, you know, you think about like losing friends and stuff, but it becomes apparent that quite a few folk down the pub, they didn't even really care about you either. You know, they don't phone you. I tried to get folk out for lunch and breakfast and all this stuff, but it was just a waste of time, complete waste of time. They just didn't want to do it, and then after a while I thought, half these guys don't even really like me, to be honest. You know, if it was a true friend, you would keep in touch, want to see me outside the work, but since it didn't revolve around alcohol, wasn't even a priority anymore. But hopefully you found this video useful. I just wanted to kind of give people an insight to what it's like once you get, like I said, through that initial few months, which are really, really tough. And there's just this whole less drama life that awaits you, just much more peaceful, like mentally so peaceful, no panicking. Don't get me wrong, you have your ups and downs, you know, people are going to get sick and unexpected bills are going to come through the door, you know, your TV's going to break, all this stuff, but believe you me, it's 1,000 times less heavy on the brain and the body, and it's brilliant just getting this new version of you, you know, a second chance at life, as I put it. It's just an amazing thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm still doing videos indoors at the moment with the weather being absolutely shocking, and I don't really have the time to bulk make videos, so they would be out in advance, etc., because I'm quite busy. But anyway, have a good one, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.